First, England, who took a huge step towards World Cup qualification, but significantly delivered a sensational performance in a 5-0 demolition of Serbia. England got their opener just after half an hour. Declan Rice with the corner, Harry Kane with the header.
And England are in front.
2 minutes later, England got their second. It was a good one too. Morgan Rogers played in Noni Madueke, and he got his first international goal. And Anthony Gordon's strike was saved by Jora Petrovic. The ball eventually fell to Ezri Konsa, who smashed it in for 3-0. And then Serbia were down to 10 men. Nikola Milenkovic sent off for this challenge on Kane. England got their fourth, another set piece from Rice, Marc Guehi, getting his first England goal. And England were given a penalty late on. Strahina Erakovic brought down Ollie Watkins and Marcus Rashford stepped up, so England continue their 100% record in World Cup qualifying.
Up until tonight, but this has the feeling of a turning point.
Right, so Charlie Austin's with us until midday. Good morning to you, Charlie. Did you see something new in that performance last night?
I see freedom. I see them going at a team that, listen, they wasn't Serbia what we expected. I think after the weekend we thought they'd made us sit in also, but if you looked at England's performance going forward, it was exciting and almost what we expect. I don't know if England fans would get carried away, and we expect, because we see these players week in, week out performing for their clubs, we think when they get together they're going to be able to do that for the country, and we haven't probably done that in recent times. We certainly haven't done it in Thomas Tuchel's reign so far. Last night was the first time, and it was good to see. It was positive signs, and I think now we just want that to happen again and again.
Did any particular player stand out for you?
Elliot Anderson stood out for me, because he puts his hand up, look, that position's up for grabs, and he's thrown his name right in the hat. Over both games he was brilliant. I think Noni Madueke was brilliant in the absence of Saka. So I think also the performances of Morgan Rogers, which we know about, them three for me was a standout, because them places up for grabs, the players that we expect to be in there, Jude Bellingham, Cole Palmer, Kai Saka, mainstay names in the England squad. Well, them three have almost gone, well, I've got the shirt now, come and take it off me, which is we haven't really seen in recent years. Normally they've got a team together. So Gareth Southgate's created like a big group and he's stuck to the same names, whereas performances that have been shown by English players in the Premier League have almost gone by and not been seen and not been given the chance to go and express themselves on the international stage. Well, them three have certainly put their name in the hat for a World Cup place.
Yeah, Serbia away as well, not an easy game. Let's bring in football correspondent Rob Dorset. Right, good morning, Rob. The best performance under Tuchel, definitely. Was this the best performance by England for quite some time?
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely that. And look, I thought it was interesting that the England manager played it down a little bit after the game. It's the performance he's been calling for. It's the performance he said he's always known this squad is capable of. But Charlie's right that what we saw was an England team enjoying themselves. They were crisper, they were sharper in their passing, there was more energy, there was more movement. They had a bit of a swagger about them. And I don't think it's any coincidence that performance came against one of the better teams. Serbia didn't come with a low block to frustrate England, which is what Andorra did at Villa Park at the weekend, and with a little bit more space England showed exactly what they're capable of. So yeah, it was exciting. It was the brand of football that Thomas Tuchel says he wants to play, and it's the first time in truth in the whole of Thomas Tuchel's time in charge that we've seen it happen. And so I think that's why we're all in such a good mood, and the England fans in Belgrade are all in a good mood today, because everybody's known that England's got excellent players who are capable of that. We just hadn't seen it. The weight of the shirt, was it, or was it the way that Thomas Tuchel was setting them up? We didn't know what it was in truth, but when England do play well, they can blow teams away. The only thing I would say as well is it was a very disappointing Serbia side, you have to say, and their performance was well below par for a team ranked 32nd in the FIFA rankings last night. They downed tools a little bit for me at some key stages, and England took advantage to the fore. But even before England had scored, when it was a very competitive game, they were dominant. They dominated the ball. They looked to play forward a little bit more quickly. Elliot Anderson was key to that. And so I think there were really really good signs going forward from here. And we ought to point out that England are on the verge of qualifying now. They're 7 points clear at the top of Group K. They could confirm qualification with a couple of games to spare if they beat Latvia away next month and results elsewhere go their way. So all very positive from an England perspective, and we don't always say that, do we?
No, we don't. But Morgan Rogers and Noni Madueke came in. They both played very well, and that second goal between the two of them was brilliant. But did Bellingham and Saka come straight back in regardless?
Probably. Yeah, they probably do, and this is the difficult thing. What I like is that Thomas Tuchel's got a headache now. Some of the fringe players that we've been talking about around this England team, Ezri, Noni Madueke, somebody in midfield as well, now I think have really put their hands up and say we're ready to play and dominate in this international environment. And so it's up to Saka and Bellingham and everybody when they come back to prove that they're capable of that. And it also gives us that reassurance that if there are injuries, and there will be injuries ahead of next summer's World Cup, that England have got decent reserves to come in and replace them. But I think it's really interesting. If Jude Bellingham was here last night and fit and available, he would have played, he would have started. And so Morgan Rogers wouldn't have had that chance to impress at number 10. Eze wouldn't have had that opportunity to play at number 10 for the first time for England at Villa Park at the weekend. Noni Madueke probably wouldn't have been selected ahead of Bukayo Saka. But you've got this interesting... I think what will help Thomas Tuchel is that Mikel Arteta has got a conundrum about who he's going to play on the right there. Is it going to be Saka as soon as he's fit? If he does, where does he play Madueke? Madueke is in such good form, he's demanding a place in the starting 11 for his club and for his country. So it might be a conundrum that Mikel Arteta has to solve, that Thomas Tuchel can take advantage of and match from an England perspective.
And Rob, the centre midfielder position is a position that's, well up for grabs. But Elliot Anderson over the 2 games has been a standout performer for me. He's been brilliant since he's been playing for Nottingham Forest. He's been brilliant in them 2 games. Surely looking forward now, that shirt is his for the time being, and rightly so.
Yeah, I'd agree with you 100%. And look, Charlie, I wrote a piece for the Sky Sports app after his debut against Andorra saying exactly that. England have been crying out for a defensive midfield player, a natural one, someone who's instinctive in their positional play and their passing and their breaking up of opposition attacks. They've been looking for that for a long time. Gareth Southgate was striving for it ever since Calvin Phillips, really. He didn't have a natural replacement. Elliot Anderson is exactly that. And even though he started life as a number 10 as a teenager, which has given him that range of passing that we see all the time, he's got a natural instinct. I saw it a couple of times again last night, and even more so against Andorra. He notices if one of these England centre-backs gets out of position or drifts a little bit further up the field and then England lose the ball, and he naturally slots in. But his passing, he's always looking to pass forward. He's progressive in the way he plays between the lines. He picks out players in decent holes. England haven't had that, a natural deep-lying midfield player for some time, and so 2 consecutive man-of-the-match performances for England from Elliot Anderson in his first 2 games as a senior England player, I think speaks volumes. But again, I'd go back to his club, and this is my only concern. Ange Postecoglou's coming in at Forest now. He tends to rotate the midfield 3 a little bit. He doesn't have one natural defensive lying midfield player. He certainly didn't with Spurs anyway. So will Elliot Anderson get the chance to play that specialist number 6 role under Ange that we've seen him do so well for England and that Thomas Tuchel would like to see him continue to do for England? I think the next 6 months or so are going to be really interesting from that England perspective.
Yeah, he's certainly done very, very well in these last few games. Rob, thank you. So did England show something last night that proves they can go all the way next year? Or are we all getting carried away? That's one for the fans. Let's get a fan's perspective, because Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, scan that QR code here or visit the Sky Sports app for more. And we can speak to Crystal Palace and, of course, an England fan here in Ollie Thomas. Right, Ollie, did you see enough last night to suggest that England can go all the way?
Yeah, I think so. I think when we played against these kind of low block teams previously in Andorra and Latvia, it's difficult, and those are not the games that Thomas Tuchel's been brought in to improve England in. We've always beaten those teams. It's against the teams that will come at us a bit more. How will those performances change? And I think what we showed yesterday were 2 things that we've lacked for a while, which is freedom, as you guys said, players willing to be, expansive and progress the ball a lot quicker than we have done previously, but also aggression and intensity. And I think that's key to any international team that wants to go far in a tournament. Players like Anderson, Livramento at left back, I thought was really good as well. The wingers, either side of Kane, they did a lot of running, a lot of pressing, and looked to go forward quickly, both on and off the ball. And I think those are really positive signs that we've not really seen for as long as I can remember, really, as an England fan.
Sir Gareth Southgate did a brilliant job with England, no doubt about that. And you'll like him, of course, as a Crystal Palace and England fan. But he was often criticised for his style of play, rightly or wrongly. And Tuchel has been so far as well. Did you see something last night that actually suggested that England are evolving?
Definitely. You are right. I do like Gareth Southgate a lot. I'm one of his biggest fans, not just because of the Palace connection, but for what he did for England. But the only time I can really think of an England team under Southgate that played with that level of attacking intent was probably the World Cup in 2022. I think that was weirdly the best England team we had under Southgate, even though that was the earliest we got knocked out in a tournament. And yesterday we saw something that you need to have as a team that wants to go far in a tournament. I think that's partly due to the players that have been brought in. We've obviously changed the squad a lot, and you mentioned the likes of Madueke, Rodgers, as I said, Livramento, Reece James coming back in, Guehi and Konsa as well. These are players that haven't played much for England over the past few years, but Tuchel has a way of playing, and those players suit that way of playing. And I think us as England fans are going to have to get used to a change in style, a change in squad. I think there's always a debate about who should start where, and should Trent come back in, etc. I think we need to trust Tuchel, because that was a Thomas Tuchel performance yesterday. That was a Thomas Tuchel team, which England haven't really looked like since he came in. So the longer we look like that, the better chance we have, I think, of going all the way in the US next year.
But Ollie, on that where we say we've got to get used to the change of squad, change of tactics, formations, isn't that what we needed? For my opinion, what I see is, in the end, the squad kind of just got the same old squad with Gareth Southgate, picked the same players, whether they was playing for their clubs or performing or not performing, they was selected. I felt like the team needs to be refreshed. The group needs to have a freshen up completely in there. And listen, the players that missed out for injury, that happens, that's football, right? But the players that have come in, like you said, Elliot Anderson, Noni Madueke, Morgan Rodgers in there, they've certainly thrown their name right in the hat. And they've got the shirt at the moment. Yes, we can say about the three players that are not in there, but now they've got to get it back. They've got to get the shirt back off them, because them three that played over them 2 games, listen, they've been phenomenal and deserve to be a part of the England squad and the starting 11.
100%. I mean, you mentioned earlier about Tuchel having a headache. He absolutely does. Madueke has been brilliant since Tuchel's come in. I mean, everyone I think can agree that Saka is a superior player to Madueke, but he's only played 1 game under Tuchel so far. He's missed 3 breaks through injury, and he needs to get some minutes quickly in the England team. And I think Saka has probably been England's best player over the past 2 to 3, maybe 4 years, but Tuchel needs to get used to players, and Madueke has been one of the best players that he's had so far. And Morgan Rodgers yesterday, was outstanding. Again, I think that Saka and Bellingham will come straight back in just because of who they are, and also how they have played for England.
We need a team. We've gone for so many years where we've just been because they pick themselves and they're great and they're that stature and they're that player. I totally understand that. But that's only taken us so far. That hasn't taken us over the line. That hasn't got us to glory. We need a team, a collective, not just individuals. Yeah, they've been the standout players. I get that. But where do we all go now? The argument is you're looking at, right, where did Cole Palmer fit into this team when he comes back? Who misses out here? Jude Bellingham comes back. Who misses out? The players that have come in there now, even myself beforehand was saying Adam Wharton, he's a perfect fit. Elliot Anderson is coming in basically in them 2 games, man of match performances. It needs to be a collective for me. England need to be a collective and go forward. And if that is changing the squads and changing the teams, then so be it. Where we stick to the tried and trusted and keep getting people in because they're great for the group. I understand that, but be great on the pitch. We're England. We should be there fighting at the top end.
But for me, the Saka and Bellingham conundrum, if you like, is maybe slightly different, just because I think that Rodgers and Bellingham and Madueke and Saka are very similar profiles. You're not necessarily sacrificing much or changing much in terms of how you're going to set up as a team.
Form?
I think
What about form?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, let's say we get to the World Cup next year and Saka has not really come back from his hamstring injury. Bellingham is stuttering a little bit for Madrid, and Rodgers and Madueke are flown for Arsenal and Villa. I agree. I think you do have to pick players based on form, but you also have got to think about overall quality. I mean, that was one of the big debates about Cole Palmer in the Euro 2024, right? That he had just come off a brilliant season for Chelsea, and then didn't start because we had players like Foden, Saka, Bellingham who took that place from him. The beauty of an international tournament and, you know, games going to extra time penalties is that we will need the whole squad. And I said that about Palmer during the Euros last year, that him coming off the bench rather than starting after 60, 70 minutes is not necessarily a bad thing. Would you rather have your best players on the pitch at the end of a game in a semi-final or a final, or for the first hour? They're probably as important as each other, if not the latter being more important. So I think having players like Madueke and Rodgers who have shown they can play well in this setup under this manager, with Saka and Bellingham, who are proven world-class talent also in those positions, means that going deep in tournaments when, you know, injuries happen, and Saka and Bellingham in particular have kind of missed games over the past few years through niggling injuries with their shoulder and hamstrings respectively, having those players knocking on the door, banging on the door is certainly not a bad thing. If I had to pick the team tomorrow, thankfully I don't, because it's a stressful job, as we're showing here by debating it so much, I would still go Saka and Bellingham, but that doesn't mean that Rodgers and Madueke haven't absolutely earned a place in this squad, maybe even the starting 11 going into the World Cup next year.
Charlie, is it quite hard at the moment when you're mentioning form, which I think the England team, a lot of people would say the England team should be picked on form. It is right now only September, and the World Cup is a long way away, and we're only at the very start of this season. So does that mean that actually it's quite hard at the moment to pick on form?
It is.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can say that it is on the form and all that building up, but that's the start. You want to be on that run. You don't want to be chasing the form. You want to be just chasing on, I need to get better performance. I need to be scoring goals. I need to be assisting. But you need to get on that run straight away. What I think that also is, we go on about the Palmer bit and with Bellingham and Saka. I want to see in the squad. I want to see starters. So people that are coming in that should be starting. You've got a good argument for starting. Not, there's an argument that they should be in the squad. That's the biggest thing, and you need to hit form. And why not start now and build it all the way through the season so your name is constantly being talked about, being an England starter for the World Cup?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, these players, Saka, Bellingham, Wharton is someone you mentioned. Obviously, as a Palace fan, I rate Wharton really highly and think he's got superstar potential. But they're running out of time to play minutes under Tuchel. Like, there's a squad that is beginning to develop now, and players are missing it consistently through injury or through whatever. You know, I think we've got 2 more breaks before the end of the year. The likes of Saka, Bellingham, Wharton, whoever, Trent, they need to be in those squads, and they need to be playing consistent minutes if they want to play, I think, in the US next year. And if we get to the new year and they haven't done that, then, you know, maybe the team that played last night will be very similar to the one that will start the opening game in the World Cup next year.
Yeah, a lot can happen, but if we play like that, we will go far. Ollie, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Remember, we want to hear from you. If you want to leave a voice note or a message on WhatsApp, scan that QR code or use the WhatsApp number 07514 917 075. And by the way, remember, at the end of the show, we always have your questions for Charlie. So get those in, get them in now and get them sorted and put them to him just before 12 o'clock. That's also on Instagram, X, Facebook, but just make sure you use the hashtag SkySportsFC. Now next we are discussing Nottingham Forest's appointment of Ange Postecoglou. Will he do better than Nuno at the club? What is better? Get involved, we want to hear your thoughts next.